Alrighty. Okay, let's get started today. So, I've got some 50-pound mono, and I'm just stretching that out, so you just warm it up. And from there, I'm gonna cut off with wire cutters that we don't dull our scissors big time. I'm gonna cut off a decent little section here. And there we have that. And then after doing so, we're gonna get this in and start tying on this piece of mono. I've got some 6/0 standard fly tying thread here. And I'm just wrapping on this 50-pound mono. Obviously this is not a hook, traditionally speaking. This is going to be an extension of the rest of our big articulated fly. So on this, we're gonna be attaching this nice saltwater hook, and then onto that we'll probably attach a much larger musky hook. So starting off with this though, I'm gonna just do a really simple tail. I usually don't blend any of the bucktail on my tail. Instead, I just go pretty simply. Today I'm gonna be using some black. And you don't need a ton of material, just enough to make a nice little back section of the fly, so that it just overall has a more cohesive look. And you can tie this in hand, and it is actually sometimes a better idea to tie in hand when it comes to the you know, the back extensions, mono extensions on these flies. But all I'll do here is I'm using a relatively thin thread for the size of what the rest of this fly will be. Normally I'll use, like, this is I think 200 something denier, and I normally use that for the main part of the fly, but for this back section where this is literally just supposed to be an extension, I use 6/0 because it just grips the this slippery mono a lot better. If you don't do that, it can actually slip off, which really sucks. So having that thinner thread, it just tends to grip a lot better, and you really don't need all of that bulk when you're working with just a mono tail extension. But I'll go ahead and whip finish this really thin thread, and then I'll grab my other bobbin with that 200 denier and actually start working on the bulk of this fly. So for those of you guys just entering now, this is just the tail part. And then to this, I'm going to be using this 2/0 saltwater hook. And then to that, I'll be putting on a larger musky hook. But this is just that back extension. So we'll get this into the vise. Looks fine. And then, yeah, I've got some 200 something, 240 maybe. 240 denier. 240 denier. Whoa, goodness gracious, this is squeaky. And I'll tie that down. Cut this off. And now we'll get on that tail that we just made. Oh yeah, and then I do want to get some Zap-A-Gap on that, so I'll use my trusty. I'll get my trusty trusty sewing needle out here. This is a sail needle, I believe. I use it instead of bodkins for the most part. You can use bodkins. Bodkins are great. These just, I don't know, you can get these for a lot less expensive, and I don't feel about dipping them in Zap-A-Gap and stuff constantly. Like, I can just do that, and then I can just scrape them off. They don't have a powder coating that comes off and all that stuff, so it is generally more of a durable experience if you use a needle. But yeah, I'll grab that little tail extension and just put a little bit of Zap-A-Gap on there, just so if a bigger toothy fish, a pike or a muskie, or, you know, a saltwater fish, if you're fishing this in saltwater, doesn't tear up your back mono extension. And we're not going to tie this on super tightly, of course. because this is just an extension, and this doesn't actually have any, you know, load bearing capacity. It's not holding this fish in place or anything. If I have a, you know, a big muskie on, right, it's not the thing that's, you know, carrying the load of the fish. So I don't need to fold this over or anything. I can just give this some securing wraps just so it doesn't pull out from normal use. Oh, this bobbin is squeaky. And then I'll just use a normal wire cutters to cut that off. How's it going, Fan F? Goodness gracious, that's squeaky. Okay, let's get right into this fly. So we're gonna start off by blending right away. So you've got some black. We've got some black bucktail. This is Musky Fool Clouser grade. Works really well. And then with that, I'm also gonna I'll blend in some blue. So I've just got a blue tail here. I'll blend in some blue. We'll make this like a nice shiner color. So I'll blend in a little bit of blue, and actually I'm gonna go in with a little bit more black. I want this to be a pretty black heavy fly, I think. Get a little bit more black. And that's a full bundle right there. Probably more than a full bundle. Take a little bit of that away. But yeah, I'm just rolling this in my fingers just to spread everything out. How's it going, noob? And we're just blending those in. And then I am gonna give these a quick hair stack in my hair stacker. Just like that. And we're stacking the butt ends. We're not stacking the tips. We're not like doing a you know, like a X caddis or a elk-hair caddis or anything of that nature. We're stacking the butts that we can more easily tie them in, especially when we're starting to reverse tie. Obviously this is a normal straight tie, so it's not quite as essential or needed, but as we're doing reverse ties especially, it is pretty important that we have nice flush butt ends. So get those tied in, and then I'll quickly hit that with a little bit of Zap-A-Gap. This bottle is still a little cooked, unfortunately. Got to get a new one. But again, that's just to help stop if we have a toothy fish that's hitting those thread wraps, so that they, number one, are protected, and if they do get cut, they won't just completely fall apart and my fly won't become useless after one fish. And then from there, I'm going to continue blending. So I'm going to do about 1/3 blue with about 2/3 black. And we'll continue that up a fair little bit. And if you do more than that of blue, it starts to look a little unnatural. Like, blue definitely works, but if you have too much blue, I feel like it just looks kind of unnatural. So keeping you know, your amount of blue in check is pretty nice. And you know, you can kind of switch between having like half and half and a little bit more black, and it does tend to work well. And you know, you can even just do completely whole tie-ins of just straight black to kind of even that out. But blending these two together definitely do make a really nice look to this fly, and it makes it look a lot cooler in my opinion. And especially when you do, like, you know, a more fire tiger look, like this fly I just tied. And this is a much smaller fly than the one we're tying today, but you know, that fire tiger look, when you blend all those colors together, it does look much cooler than just a plain old tie. And again, we'll give these fibers a quick stack. And we'll do our first reverse tie of the night. I'll spin up my thread, and that's just to make it more corded. And I'm not trying to spin these fibers so much as I am trying to get them in place. If I wanted to spin the fibers, I would have, you know, put a lot more thread tension evenly and kind of let it like wrap around. But instead, I'm holding these in place, and I'm using a lot of thread tension, but in a slightly different way. And that way on the bottom, I can go in with just some probably straight white. And that will, it'll make everything look a lot more natural overall. And we won't do nearly as much white on the bottom as we did all this on the top, because we want this fly to keel properly. And I think this is a lot of one thing that a lot of people overlook is how a fly keels. So I think I have an example in here. What's a good example? This isn't a bad example. See how there's a ton of material on the bottom of this fly? And this is still probably will keel properly because there's a lot of material on top. But see how there's still a lot of material on the bottom. So if there's a lot of material on the bottom that's really buoyant and not a lot on the top, then what's going to happen is, because this is so buoyant on the bottom, it's actually going to flip upside down, and your fly is going to ride like this, and nobody wants a fly in the water that looks like this, right? So being able to control your materials in a way that allows you to have optimal action of your lure, or of your fly, my bad, in both in like an action way and also in a positionary way is super important. So putting less material on the bottom of this fly will allow us to have a more effective fly in the water. And that is something that comes with feel. You know, you need to kind of be able to feel out how much material is too much and how much material is not enough, right? If I don't put enough material on the bottom, it's just gonna look dumb, right? But if I put too much material on the bottom of the fly, then obviously, as I said, it's just gonna flip over in the water. Nobody wants a flipped over fly. So you gotta find that balancing point. And it's pretty easy to find once you've tied a few, you know, you fished a few, even small, you know, you can obviously size this down for brown trout, smallmouth, things of that nature. And in fact, right now as this fly is, this should be a great brown trout and smallmouth fly. I am going to probably be putting in articulation on this, unless this fly takes me forever to tie tonight, which maybe I may keep this as a smaller pike, smallmouth brown trout fly, but we'll see. But I'm just going to put a little bit of Zap-A-Gap. Again, if we're fishing for big pike or muskies or things of that nature, obviously we don't want our fly to fall apart. And I'll slide that back. How's it going, G Ma Beth? How's it going, Traveler Flies? What are you tying tonight, Traveler Flies? And I'll fold this over. We're doing an articulated double hooked musky fly / pike fly tonight. And I'll make sure to really give these a good crease. That just allows us to not have to hollow tie as much. And actually, I'll do a bullet tie for this one. So that's where I actively tie over the fibers. That doesn't look horrible. There we go. And there's a lot of more fibers on that side. And also just keeping an eye for how you can adjust your fly is also super important. There we go. And I'll spread out a little bit of Zap-A-Gap over this. It's not quite as important as on the tie inside, because this isn't actually like holding the hair on the hook or on the fly, but it is important to keep the fly's properties in check. You know, if this comes out, or if this gets cut by a muskie's tooth or a pike's tooth, which, oh boy, pike's teeth can really cut through thread, it will, you know, potentially destroy all the properties we're looking for in that fly, and that fly will be basically as good as garbage. So you know, keeping those thread wraps under control is very important. So now let's go on to the next one. And obviously both of these tie downs, all three of the tie downs we've had so far have been really flat, and we're going to start to change that a little bit. But because we're making an articulated fly, we're not going to make this super floofy yet. We're going to make that do that in the second part of the fly, which I think I'll probably use. I'll probably use a beast hook, an Umpqua beast hook, if I had to guess. I only have one left in that pack, but probably an Umpqua beast hook. I might use, and I think that's a 5/0. Yeah, a 5/0. Otherwise, I might use a, where do I have it? Oh yeah, I think actually I might use an Irex Trout Predator 6/0. It's a little shorter or a little bit better size shank. You're tying up some micro flat wing bait fish, orange, white, and black. Very cool. Those things are so much fun to tie. Yeah, I love tying those. Micro flat winged. Are you using like normal synthetics, or are you using like craft fur? What are you using for those? And we're gonna start blending up again. So I've got some black, bucktail. We're going with that blue bucktail as well. And again, we're not going to go super heavy on the blue still. And I think we'll do a slightly lighter tie-in this time, just because we're going to make this floofy. So adding a little bit less material will make it a little easier to do that. So I've got that in. I'm going to add a little bit more black. Not too much, just probably a sixth of a bundle. Bucktail, saddle hackle, slinky fiber. Oh, cool. Okay, I see you. Stacking up those butt ends. Alrighty. And after we've stacked up those butt ends, I'm just going to go ahead and tie in my fibers. And right away we'll do the belly. And again, as I was saying about keeling, we want to have less material on the bottom of the fly than on the top of the fly. And we can kind of, you know, remember, I put a lot of material on the bottom of this, so I'm going to make it sparser this time. But if you have a sparser top, like we're doing with this particular tie-in, having a sparser bottom, of course, is ideal, just so you don't lose track of what amount of bucktail you have on the top and bottom, which can obviously cause your fly to tip over and not keel properly. So I'm gonna add a little bit less material to the belly, so that way we don't have more material on the belly. And by the way, if you do have way too much material on the belly of your fly, that doesn't mean it's like useless. It just means that you have to add keel weight manually, which you do by adding lead to the shank of your fly, like, or to the hook bend of your fly, like right about there. So it's definitely not like unusable, but if you don't have to do that, it's it's better not to have to do that. So that's why material proportions is better than actively adding weight. So we're gonna add a little bit of Zap-A-Gap to the tie-in point of this fly. Again, not because my thread wraps are not tight enough or anything of that nature. It's just in case a pike or a muskie bites through the thread, it doesn't come all undone. I've had that happen, especially I've had a lot of pike bite through my flies, so that is quite annoying to do. And I'm going to hollow tie this one. I'm going to do a pretty aggressive hollow tie, because again, I still want these fibers to be pretty laid back, because this is only an articulation. This isn't like the final part of the fly. So I'm going to lay down just a little bit of Zap-A-Gap. It just helps, especially with this really thick GSP. It helps everything hold a little bit better, because heaven knows GSP in big diameters slips so easy. It's really annoying when you're building up big old hollow tied sections. And that doesn't look horrible. I'll accept that. So as you can see, we've made this a little bit floofier, but we're not making it fully floofed, because that articulated hook is going to be really where we want that big that water moving head. So that looks good to me. We're going to do another blended section. We're going to do probably pretty black heavy on this blend, so we're gonna take probably a 2/3 pinch of black.
Here's what I found.
Shh, Siri. Shh. And then we're gonna do about a 1/3 blue. And I'll probably start to add in some other cool colors here in a little bit. But for right now, especially this back articulation, I want to keep this pretty, pretty standard, just black and blue. And then slowly incorporate more colors as we get up to that head. It just makes a more cohesive looking fly overall. So we're going to blend these up by just stacking, stacking, stacking. And I said that I was going to make a pretty black heavy, yes, you are correct, Traveler Flies. Less on the bottom also makes a better profile. Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, our real life bait fish, they're, obviously the very top of them is usually a little thinner, but their fattest area, in my experience, is, yeah, always towards like the upper middle. So yeah, I 100% agree. So we're tying in that nice big bundle again. And I think after I tie this one back, I'll probably add some flash or something. I've got some blue flash up here just to make the look of this a little bit more interesting. And then on the bottom, I think I'm going to blend some black and some white together just to make this belly look a little bit better, because it's just straight white right now, and I think it looks a little boring. So we've got just probably like a 1/6 pinch of black, and then this is kind of a weird bucktail, but we'll go with about a 1/3 pinch of white. Again, I'm talking about like fractions of a pinch based on like what I would do for the top of the fly. So obviously this is only going to be about half of what's on the top, probably less actually. So yeah, and just like what Traveler Fly said, the profile makes it look way better on top of just a mechanical Keeling property of the fly. So got those two in there, blended relatively well. And the belly of the fly, I don't tend to really feel like I need to blend super well. Like, I think little like bunches in the belly is not that big of a deal. Actually makes the fly look a little bit more interesting. But on the top, I do usually like to blend it pretty well. I'm just gonna cord up my thread. And as you can see, I did stack that top a little bit. I didn't stack it super well, so I am tying this pretty far back. And that's another thing, is usually I will keep the belly a little shorter. As you can see, the belly fibers are a lot farther back than the top fibers, but I will bring it all forward so that they all are tied in at the same location before adding just a little bit of zap-a-gap. Again, just to increase the fly's durability, because my thread wraps are plenty strong enough to hold these fibers in place. But it's more so, when those fish, or even when like a rock or something damages one of these fibers, it will if it cuts one of those fibers, it will destroy the entire fly, or at least a major section of the fly, which is not fun. So that looks decent enough, I guess. I prefer a little bit more zap-a-gap, but my zap-a-gap's running a little dry, so that might not happen. There we go. That's a little better. Get that in my toolbar. There we go. And now I'll shove all this back. And I will just take a little bit of the excess off that just with my fingers. And now I'll just fold that just like that, and just kind of like firmly crease those fibers so that they stay a little better. And I'll build up that. Goodness, this is a squeaky bobbin. I'm sorry, guys. That probably sounds horrible. And that looks pretty good. And again, we're not trying to make this super floofy, because this is just the the back articulated hook. This isn't the main hook. So we don't want to make a super big head on this. Otherwise I would be making this a lot floofier, a lot bigger. But that looks good enough. And now we're going to add some flash, just because I think this fly is lacking in that. And I don't need that many fibers. So I don't usually use a lot of fibers for flash. So I'm going to go like this. I'm going to take that in half, just like so. And then I'll cut them in half like that. And then from there, I'm also going to go about probably just a little over 50-50. I'll do a little bit longer on top than I will on the bottom, and then tie those in with just a little wrap, and then bring those down, bring those through. Oh shoot. And there we go. Yeah, so that makes a nice little kind of all around flashiness that I think looks pretty good, especially when you cover it up with some hair. How's it going, Tim Beam? How are you doing? There we go. And now from there, we're gonna do one more blend, and I think we'll go pretty nice and heavy on blue in this final one, just to kind of cement that before we move on to our main hook, or our final hook. So we'll do a nice, we'll probably do a 50-50 pinch of a blue and black, just as a final hurrah for the blue in this fly, at least on this articulation. So we'll do about 50-50. Maybe just a little bit more black, because I do want to continue to maintain a slight bit of you know, larger amounts of black bucktail in this fly. But we'll blend this together. There we go. That looks good. And I'm just blending it by just rolling it in between my fingers and then folding it over at times. You can also use a dubbing brush. You know, I use a loon dubbing brush most of the time, and that works well too. You can just kind of flatten it out on there and then roll it over, and it works pretty well. But using your fingers is usually way faster, especially with smaller amounts. If you're doing if you're just like literally taking like a bunch of bucktail and just making like a pre-blended like blend, then like that'd probably be fine to use like a comb or something of that nature. But when you're doing little bundles for just individual flies, doing it by hand is just as quick, and you know, you don't need the extra tools. There we go. Now on the belly of this fly, we'll go in with a little bit more white, and I'm not going to blend anything in this one. I'll just leave this as white. Spin that thread up. And I'll just go ahead and make sure everything is covering 360 degrees. And there we go. And now I'll go ahead and push all these fibers back. And there we go. Goodness gracious, that's squeaky. we go. I said before, this GSP does love to slip, so you really got to make sure you got that thread tension in the right spots to stop that from slipping all over. But there we go. There's the first articulation of our fly, and we'll go on to our final articulation now. I will just put a little Zappa Gap. You can use resin. You can use UV resin. And, you know, I think a lot of people use UV resin for the front of their flies, and I do sometimes still, but I've been doing a lot more, especially lately, a lot more Zappa Gap heads, especially for the articulations, because they're just so much more durable than, especially like the UV resin that I use a lot is Loon Flow. And yeah, the stuff cracks when you try to apply it in big layers on full on streamers, so it is a little annoying. But that's a big old head on that fly. I don't love that, but it'll be fine. It's an articulation, so it's fine. God, it's so squeaky. If I loosen up any more than that, it'll the thread will just slide down onto it'll just slide down onto the table. I can try to loosen a little bit, but we're in dangerous territory. Yeah, and there we go. Now it does that, and it still squeaks. Goodness gracious. Okay. It's a nice little streamer bobbin, but it's quite squeaky. Okay, there's our first articulation. We're going to go in with a Irex Trout Predator shorts. This is a 6/0. Great hook. Very big hook, as you can see. I might go, ooh, this is a pretty small hook for that. I don't know. I think I'm going to go a little smaller, actually. Scratch that. We're going to go with a Umpqua Beast 5/0. Yeah, that's a little bit of a long of a shank. Scratch that again. We're going to go with a I'm very good. How are you? Dude, wait, how do you pronounce your name? Dude, I forgot it. It's, oh my God. I'm so dumb. It's just Havercamp, right? It's Havercamp. I was pronouncing it Flavor Camp because I was stupid and I don't know how to read, but it's Havercamp, right? Yes. Havercamp, right? Frank Havercamp? Yeah. We're going to go with a Firehole. Extra wide gap. 4/0, which is actually more like a 7/0. It's extremely, very good. How are you doing today? It's an extremely wide gap hook, but it works well. And we're doing some 240 denier, as usual. Cut that off, and my Renzetti Traveler is loose. There we go. It's all tightened up. Just got to use that tip of your scissors, you know. Really good for the scissors, clearly. You been tying anything recently? Mr. Favorcamp? Havercamp. Oh my God. I'm very sorry. I'm very forgetful as well. Ooh, heck yeah, dude. You got your Traveler 2305. That's nicer than mine. Or not nicer. It's a different model than mine. They're the same. They have the same components. But it's a different model than mine. I've never used that one, but I've heard it's cool looking. I believe that's different from mine. I think mine is a 2100. I think. I don't know. I don't know models. I just use what... You've been tying streamers. Cool. Well, I guess I don't need to say that I love tying streamers because I'm tying them right now. Yeah, the Renzetti Travelers, you know, this I'm using the same vise as yours, just cosmetically maybe slightly different, are really nice for tying streamers. They I don't know what they officially claim that they work up to. I think it's like they officially work up to like 6/0 or something, but they work up to basically any size that you need them to, and they work really well for what they do. Obviously, they make more streamer-specific vices, but the versatility that you get off of a Renzetti is just unmatched. Yes, it is. Yours, yeah, that's the difference. Is it's anodized. Yeah, that's what it is. I need to get a bigger base for mine. My base is fine, but when I'm tying these big streamers, it can be a little bit annoying. Alrighty, I'm tying in my articulation. This is 50-pound wire. This is Cortland 50-pound wire. Expensive stuff for the amount that you get, that's for sure. It's kind of annoying. I use this for leaders for like really big, like mostly murky water leaders like this. This is 50-pound. I think, what do I normally do? I do like 3 feet, 2 to 3 feet of 50-pound mono, which is the same stuff I used for the back articulation for that. And then, you know, probably about 18 inches of that 50-pound to a big musky full snap swivel. Or not a snap swivel, a snap. And yeah, I use the same stuff, but it's super expensive. It's like $15 for like, I don't know, 15 feet. I think it was what it is. It's kind of a scam. What size streamers do you like to tie, Mr. Frank? Trout stuff, pike, bass, muskie. And we're going to start this off with a bang. We're going to go in with a nice big clump of black. And we're going to go in with a slightly smaller, that's probably like a 75% clump, 3/4 of a clump. And then we'll go with about a 1/4 clump of blue. Yes, 100% agree. I was just using my old vise that was in some of my old videos, and I was using it because a friend wanted to try out my vise, and oh, it was so hard to get used to not having a rotary function, to not having like really nice jaws. It was I don't know. It took some tears to tie a fly on that thing, and it served me super well. You know, that thing tied hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of flies, but the Renzetti has been an absolute game changer for me in terms of like both enjoyment of fishing. How's it going, Liam? How are we doing? I haven't done lives in a bit either, so you and me both. And you've been tying 2s, 2/0s, and 3. Great sizes. Do you fish pike, muskie, smallmouth, brown trout? That's like a super versatile size. You can fish for basically any fish with those size, salt water too, with those size flies, can't you? There we go. And there's our initial tie-in, and this isn't meant to really fully be like a new section. This is mostly just to kind of cover up that old articulation, that big old head especially. There we go. Yeah, I don't love that, but it'll be fine. And we'll start tying in some blended stuff. So we're going to go about 50-50 on blue and black. Blend those two together. And then we'll start this off with a bang with a nice hollow tie. Mr. Frank, do you like to tie with bucktail, or do you do more like buggers and like dungeons and things of that nature that are more more marabou based than bucktail based? I'll spin up my thread. Oh, I gotta grab that black bucktail. It doesn't get dirty on the floor. And on the bottom, I'm gonna go a black belly with just a little bit of white shining through for this one. Black. Yeah? What colors? Standard white, black, chartreuse. Blend those together. And just to save a little bit of time, I'm not going to stack these. I'm just going to cut off the ends, which most of the time is just as effective, especially when you're just tying a belly like this. Spin that up. Oh, cool. Do you hunt for deer? That's really the best, especially for just getting plain old natural deer hair. It is, or bucktail. It's great just to hunt yourself. And honestly, like I have and I actually used it all, but I had a normal white bucktail that I used, and it was some of the nicest bucktail that you'll ever use. You know, really clean white, really nice long fibers. Works really well. My favorite bucktail I use is Musky Fool. Shameless plug. I'm not affiliated with them at all, but you know, it's just the bucktail I use for all of my flies pretty much, or most of them. And it's super good compared to all the other bucktails that I've used. You talked about my hook? This is this is technically a 4-aught hook. It's a lot big. It's probably a 7-aught in real life terms. It's a fire hole, extra wide gap, or extra wide gape, extra heavy predator hook. It's a 4-aught, but it's more like a 7-aught. Cool. Chartreuse with pink and blue sparkle, pink and white, bronze and copper flash. All those are freaking cool, bro. That's awesome. Goodness gracious, the squeaky bobbin. Do you blend bucktails like this? Or do you yeah, me too. I was just out today on a small mushroom. Didn't catch anything, but it's still fun going out. Alrighty, and now we're gonna start building up some bulk here. We're gonna go in with a nice robust clump, probably a 1/3 clump of, well, maybe a little bit more like a half clump of black. It's 8:20 for me. It's 8:20 for me. I'll probably, I don't know if I'll finish this fly tonight. Probably. We'll lock in. Yeah, it's 8:20 where I am. I'm in the Midwest, so you're on the East Coast, so it's a little different. And I'll just blend these guys together. And I'll stack up these fibers. Cool. Yeah. And I do a lot of solid tails as well. But yeah, I think blending for the hollow bodies is a really, and you don't have to, right? Like I have this one right here. It's a really big streamer that is not hollow tied at all. It looks like it just because I blended that white. You know, I do a piece of white and I do a section of orange. But so you can make really cool flies without it, but blending is just something that I think looks really cool. Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's what is it called? It's called a pig dog, I believe is the name. It's just a really big I don't know, I think both of these hooks are like 6/0, and a big ol' dragon tail extension on there. And yeah, multiple 2 hooks and a shank, full on. Yeah, it's a big boy. Good fall pattern. Probably wouldn't use it in the spring, but good big fall pattern or summer pattern. Hopefully we'll catch a muskie on one of those this year. Alrighty, we've got that bottom part. Muskie. Normal muskie, tiger muskie, big pike. Yeah, literally an entire deer tail. Like, I'm not even joking. This is the deer tail it came from. That thing is picked clean. Basically an entire deer hair. There would be deer tail. Not even joking. Cool. Yeah. Like, do I have any out? I just was using them. I must not have them out. Yeah, articulation spines. Where are they? I don't know. I just had some. Yeah, they work really good. Like for, do you have like the ones for making like game changers and stuff? Because game changers are super fun to tie. They're kind of annoying though. I don't have any materials for them, unfortunately, but that's just because I don't really tie any anymore. Yeah, cool. Yeah, game changers are so cool. And there's, yeah, I mean, again, they're really fun to tie, but their materials, to get the materials, it's not really materials you have laying around. And it's not like, you know, I have this deer tail and this deer tail for the average person, not for me, because I tie a lot of big flies. But for the average person, a deer tail like this will last them for a year, you know, for the things that they do with it. But with game changers, like you buy a pack of shanks, or you buy a pack of, and the shanks last a little longer, but like you buy a pack of brushes and it'll last you like maybe 2 flies. Yeah, I get mine from down in Muskyful, but they're just the I actually don't know how to pronounce the name. They're Pachinardi, Pacchiarini, and they sell them at a lot of fly shops around here. They're just big dragon tails. They're not, I don't think they make 2 different types of dragon tails. The one are like the weird fleece ones, and the other ones are those. And when you ask me for a dragon tail, I assume you mean the real fleece dragon tails, but they make a bunch like that, and they work really well on the back. You can replace them if they get marred up. Yeah, they work great. How's it going? I don't know how to pronounce your name, I'm sorry. Quirk. I don't know. I should probably know how to pronounce that. That's probably something I should pronounce, but I don't know how to pronounce it. Oh, okay. Yeah, I can tie one up with one of those next time you're on, Liam. Making sure this is good 360-degree coverage. And I'll fold that over. And again, we're continuing to try to add a nice head to this fly, so we're going to go with a little bit less of a hollow tie this time, and we're just going to slowly, you know, move the hair back less each articulation, or each tie-in of bucktail we do. There we go. And alrighty. There we go. Got that in. And we should probably start blending in some other cool colors, shouldn't we? I've got a few like random patches from old bucktails that I have that I kind of save. That I use for, especially for blending, because you can just use tiny amounts. Am I using a needle or something? Yeah, this is a sail needle. You can buy them at Walmart, and I use them instead of bodkins because they're way cheaper. And for what I do with them, a bodkin usually gets pretty marred up pretty easy. As you can see, I use them for Zap-A-Gap, and you scrape that excess off. If you can't use it, and so every few flies, you just use a pair of wire cutters. Probably not good for the wire cutters at all, but use the wire cutters and you just scrape off that excess. You can kind of bite down on them if you're careful enough not to actually, you know, dig into the metal of the pin. But yeah, you just do that, and yeah, they're way cheaper than an actual. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good idea with an old candle. I like that. Yeah, that is a very good idea. My bobbin is horrible. But there's nothing much I can do about it, and without, you know, rubbing wax on it, because if you let it out enough to not have it just completely squeak, it'll be so loose it'll just slowly go. Oh my gosh, proving my point already. It'll just go straight down. So now we've got some red. I'll grab a little bit of blue still, and then again a pretty good amount of black. Red, black, and blue. And I'll go ahead and blend these guys together. And it looks nice and purple now. That looks cool. Alrighty, there we go. And now I'll go ahead and stack up those butt ends. Yeah, it's a big old hook, that's for sure. Really wide gap, especially. Nice. Yeah, I've seen you on a lot of streams, that's for sure, Liam. I don't comment, I just watch streams sometimes when I'm tying flies. I never comment though. There we go. Ties flies. I watch a lot of streams. I couldn't tell you all the streams I watch. Yeah, I watch pretty much anybody that pops up. I'll watch. Who all have I seen you on? I for sure know I've seen you on Ties Flies. Obviously, who hasn't been on Ties Flies? I've seen you on. Actually, no, I can't remember who I've seen you on now. I've seen you on a few different ones though, which I'm sure is believable. Alrighty. And now we've got yeah, exactly. He's always live. I probably talk to you a little bit more than Ties Flies as well. He gets a lot of people in there. I get about 30 people in at a time, and he gets about 300 plus. So, probably, yeah. Yeah, I think I've been on Shows Flies. or show flies. And I'll bring all that stuff back. And you can see that red really makes everything pop. Is he? You normally use the stainless saltwater hooks for anything bigger than a number 2. Yeah, these are, I use a lot of stainless saltwater hooks as well. They were great. You know, they don't bend out. They don't rust, really. I've never had problems with them rusting. They just work really well. Holy crap. Yeah, exactly. Thousands of people watching. I assume you mean Ty's flies. Yeah, we get a lot of people watching Ty's flies. Not a lot of people watching you and Ty his flies, but that doesn't really matter. I don't really care about the number of people. If you guys are enjoying, though, shameless plug, please do consider subscribing to Old Time Skills Outdoors. It means a lot to me, because I am a tiny little content creator who is not monetized at all. Yeah, exactly. What is he tying up? Probably nothing as cool as a hollow tide blended bucktail streamer. Yeah, I saw one, if I remember right, he had like 20,000. I think that was him. He had like 20,000 people, and it was for like a few seconds, but he had a ton of people for just a second. Oh yeah, boring. I'm just kidding. I love Ty's flies. One of the big inspos that got me into fly tying, that's for sure. He's the GOAT, and for good reason. He's got 100,000. I think the most subscribed fly tying channel besides mainly flies, who doesn't really count anymore because he's like doesn't post. But yeah. Yep, Tide Flies is the GOAT of fly tying, and so consistent. Every freaking day he posts. It's awesome. If you want to binge fly tying videos, you go over to Tide Flies. That's for sure. Yeah, I would say actually, like, the person who actually, like, I saw, the first person that I ever saw tying flies was mainly flies, but you know, I think, if I remember right, I think Tide Flies kind of was after my time that I got in, but he was somebody who I got a lot of inspiration for flies from. You know, like, a lot of the flies that I tied on, especially early channel, was a lot of flies that I got inspiration from him. Thank you. I'm glad that I'm actually making a little bit of an impact, Frank. Very appreciate that comment. Yeah, my niche that I always start these videos off for the most part with a big streamer. I probably should be expanding my reach, but I just really like tying big flies, and usually people like to watch that. But I should probably start tying some new stuff. If you guys have any recommendations for what you guys want me to see tied in a future live stream, please go ahead and let me know. I'm blending these same 3 colors together, black, blue, and red. Just layering those up and throwing those into a hair stacker. Just like that. Cord up my thread really quick. And now I'll tie those in. And then on the bottom, I've got this nice blend of red and white. I'm blending these two together just to kind of make a cool, like, bloody gill kind of look. Make sure that thread is nice and spun up. And there we go. Goodness gracious, that's squeaky. I'm sorry, guys. There we go. Got that. And I'm going to add just a little bit of the good old OG Zap-A-Gap. Don't have any on there. Oh, I need to get a new bottle of Zap-A-Gap ASAP. There we go. There's a lot of people who ask me if I sell my flies. I wonder, I've been thinking about doing like a fly drop where and this would be in the future when I have more subscribers and whatnot, but I've been thinking about doing something where I tie like a really specific fly. Like I tie, you know, a chartreuse yellow and orange and red streamer for, you know, this is a big old, I think this is a 2-aught saltwater hook, for pike, muskie, smallmouth, and brown trout. And I have this one fly and I have 25 of them, and first come first serve, you can buy as many as you want. I don't have a limit. Go ahead, buy them up for, you know, 10 bucks a piece. And I just have little like monthly fly drops like that. And so if you guys would want that, definitely think about that. How's it going, Hooked on Flies? How are we doing? You stacked up a big old pile of bucktail and streamer flash earlier and promptly slid the whole on the floor when I... Oh, dude! That's so annoying. Oh my god, dude, that happens to me sometimes. And that is one of the biggest annoyances in all of fly tying, is when you have a really nice bundle of... Holy crap! Look at my finger. I haven't used this much red in a while. I forget this red just stains your fingers. Yeah, and I was stacking this one time. I had this really nice stack. I think it was on, and I was one on these really big articulated musky flies that I was doing. And I had a bunch of, I was actually blending some Flashabou in with it. And I dropped it all over, and it all just went all over the floor. And it was one of the biggest nightmares to pick up. And I think there's still some fibers on the ground from that. How's it going, Bambi Clouser? How are we doing? I haven't seen you in a little bit. It's good to see you're still around these parts. Still around the fly tying live stream section. There we go. I think that's looking pretty good. We're going to tie in some hackle quick just to get some more variation in this. I'm going to use some whiting dry fly hackle. Just their good old standard pro grade. Whiting is, of course, one of the best hackle manufacturers on the planet, in my opinion. There's a few other good companies out there, but they are one of the best. That is for sure. There we go. And we're tying in, we'll just do 2 feathers on this one. You threw your bobbin on the ground? No. Was it a ceramic bobbin? I swear to God, every time I drop, this is my favorite bobbin. You wouldn't know it because I use this one on this live so much because I tie big streamers, but favorite bobbin of all time. Every time I drop this bobbin, I just wince because I worry so much that this ceramic tip got broke. Your name is pretty cool, Bambi Clouser, because it is the name, Clouser is the name of my favorite fly. Probably. One of my favorite flies. There's too many flies to choose which one is your favorite, honestly. Alrighty, I can't decide if I want to do one or two more. I'm gonna do a pretty sparse tie-in. Do you have a ceramic inlay one, or is it just like a standard? I don't know, you break a standard one. Black. And we'll go just black and blue for this one. Can I marry quills? Hooked on flies. I cannot marry quills for the life of me. If you have any tips, please let me know. I was trying it on an Atlantic salmon fly I was tying the other day. Could not do it for crap. I eventually kind of figured it out, but yeah, it's so annoying. Okay, I'll see you, Liam. Fly Smith bobbins. Never tried those. I'll stick with my Smayans for now. Good night. Alrighty, and then on the bottom here, I'll continue to do a nice blend of red and white. Just do a little bit of red. And then a fair bit of white as well. Hooked on flies. Do you marry quills? Much? The problem is I just don't practice it. If I practice it, I think obviously I'd get a lot better at it. But I just don't do enough Atlantic salmon fly tying. I need to. I really do. And also, I do not have the materials for a blue charm. Once again, I've not gotten to a fly shop in 3 months. 4 months? I don't know. Months. That's for sure. Running low on a lot of things. You have to have good feathers. And I just don't have good feathers. So that's probably the first thing I need to do. Yeah, I mean, adding hackle definitely makes them look better, but, like, they fish just as well. Like, I guarantee you I have one in here that has no hackle. Yeah, this one. No hackle on it. This fishes just as well as this fly, right? It just makes it look cooler, honestly. And do the fish care? Maybe a little bit. Like, maybe they're like, oh, that's a cool hot spot. I'm going to bite that. But, like, in all reality, I would say, like, hackles are more for aesthetics than actual performance. So, I mean, me personally, like, I don't think that it actually matters that much, but they are cool. So if you have hackle and you want to use it, definitely go for it, because I think having confidence in your flies is one of the most important things you can do as an angler. Like, if I'm confident that a fly will catch a fish, I'm gonna fish it way more and I'm gonna fish it harder than if I have, like, a gross fly that I hate that I don't think will catch crap, And I think that's one of the most important things. So if you have confidence in a fly because it's got hackle on it, then by all means add hackle. But I don't think it's, like, completely necessary. But they do look way cooler, so that's why I use it. Alrighty, this is going to be pretty tight, but that's kind of the goal, I guess, of this profession. But we're going to need to be a little careful because we are running out of room to add that final layer very quickly, right before our eyes as we are hollow tying this in. But it should be fine. Do you do much flash in yours? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, give other people the flies that don't catch. That's so real. That is completely real. Yeah. Alrighty, for this final one, we're going to make this last blend pretty interesting. So we're going to go in, of course, with our base of black. I think every single layer on this has had black, at least for the back, the top bundle. We're going to do a big, nice clump of black. We're going to do a nice big clump of red. Not too big, just big enough. I don't want to make my hands even redder. It's probably got, like, this is really old. Like, this is, like, I got this from an old man who unfortunately passed away. And this stuff has probably died with, like, lead paint or something. So, yeah. And we'll go in with a little bit of white as well. And, of course, blue. I can't forget blue. Goodness. Have you ever done mono extensions on your flies, Frank? And I'll blend these guys together, just like that. And that's a nice big back, which for the final piece. Thank you, Bambi Clouser. I appreciate it. A mono extension, so probably not. So on the back of this fly, you probably can't see, and there's probably I probably have a better example of a sparser fly that has it. A lot of these smaller flies, I don't really do them on is the problem. And the bigger flies are usually really thick, like this. So basically, you've got, you know, a nice looking fly. It looks really cool, right? It just looks like a normal fly, but actually, and this is perfect because this one looks horrible, but it's a piece of really heavy mono, about 50 pound, that you tie on a tail, and it makes a really long tail. So you can have a really long tail on a fly without having to add like a shank or something to it. If you're ever on, I'll show you. It's getting a little late, so by the time I get this one done, I'll probably be signing off. But if you're ever on again, I'll show you how I do mine. But basically, you take a really heavy piece of mono. I just use Zebco 50 pound mono, and you just put it in your vise, and you just tie right next to it, and it'll stay stiff enough. And you just tie on some deer tail, and then you tie it onto the back of the shank, so you know you have deer tail coming off of right here, right? And then you just have mono coming off there, so you have a really nice long tail without having to have like insanely long bucktail. Yeah, 50 pound mono. That's exactly what I use. So yeah, you can give it a try. Yeah, you can give it a try. And if you can. Do I have any? I don't think I have any videos of it. But basically, yeah, you just put it in your vise. You just tie right next to where the mono comes off the vise. And then you tie in your bucktail. Give it a wet finish. Put some Zap-A-Gapper super glue on it. And then you tie normally. And you just tie that entire piece of mono on your fly to have a really nice long extension. Alrighty, let's do this final tie-in. What did I do with my massive clump of... I got on a tangent, and I don't know where my massive clump of bucktail went. Did I just waste an entire massive clump of bucktail? Did I drop it on the floor? What the heck? Where did it go? Rule number 1 of fly tying: never let old time skills outdoors get on a tangent with a big clump of bucktail that's perfectly blended. And oh no, it's in my hair stacker, stupid. Sure, yeah. For smallies. What region of the world do you live in? Midwest, I assume? Or East Coast, I guess, for smallmouth. A lot of people in the East Coast fish for smallmouth too, I guess. Or like Middle East Coast. Alrighty, let's get this final piece on there. So I'm going to spin up my thread. Apply tons of thread tension, so much that it's about to break, which you should always be doing, but especially right now. You should be feeling that GSP, which isn't supposed to stretch. Pennsylvania, cool. Yeah, so East Coast. Yeah, you guys got some cool smallmouth fishing over there, that's for sure. Yeah, Pennsylvania, I mean, I love the Midwest just because of its versatility, but Pennsylvania is another spot kind of like the Midwest that's got just tons of cool water. You know, lots of variety, which I think is super cool. I've never fished it though. Just seen pictures and videos and stories more than anything. And we'll do a little bit of white on this belly. And that will be the entire fly. This will be a massive musky fly. We tie it on a single live stream. It'll be pretty cool. Normally I just tie single hooked flies, but this will be a big old musky fly for a single live stream. Usually I do a large musky fly over 2 days just because I get tired, but your guys' aura has allowed me to stay awake enough to tie an entire musky fly. Mostly because I've not been rushing it, because I've just been rambling the entire time. You're East Coast as well, I assume, Bambi Clouser? You're a machinist, right, Mr. Frank? I didn't have this last time, I don't think. I think I was talking about it, though. A tube fly attachment that I made. I don't have the vise for it, but basically all it is a piece of lathed brass that I just put a hole through, and then obviously put a, where do I have a, no, dang it. No, I don't have an Allen wrench. But basically, this is a, what is that called? It's just like a little hobby wrench. And you just put a little pin into it, and you put a tube fly, you know, just a tube on that. And then you just slide it forward. You tighten up that piece, and then you can tie on it normally. And it works really well. So I didn't have this last time, I don't think. Yeah, and then this just goes right in. And this is aluminum. This isn't a great piece. I just didn't have any steel. But I'd probably, if I did this, and I just used just a milling machine for this, but I would probably do a piece of steel next time, because this does get marred pretty easy. But yeah, and then you just put your this in the vise, and it works really well. So that is something to think about if you are talking about tube flies like I think you were last time. Probably not up to your standards, but for me, it wasn't too bad. I think that was the first ever machining project I did. Well, one of the first. I did a few other things before that, but alrighty, there we go. Got a nice base done, and now we're gonna get some Zap-A-Gap on this thing. Yes, sir. Indeed, I am. Alrighty, let's finish this fly up. We've got some Zap-A-Gap on there. Just gonna tap on that. Bring it all back. I don't love the look of this, but it'll be fine. Bring it all back. Oh, that'll be fine. And we want to give this a really good crease. the final piece you do, especially you want it to be really well creased, because that'll kind of cement everything in place. Oh, good, Gma Beth. Yeah, I like the colors too. Looks fun. I don't really have any flies that are exactly this color profile in there, so I'm excited. Oh, shoot. Yeah, this color is, I don't know, I don't have any actual purple in this fly, but the red and that blue make a really solid look. That's that I really appreciate. And it's kind of I don't know, it's almost like a sucker look that I think will do really well. I probably won't use it in the spring, but for sure in this. Oh, what the heck? Oh God, we got a problem on our hands. Oh, my whip finisher split that GSP. There we go. Well, I gotta get out of here, guys, but thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate all of you guys, and if you guys enjoyed what you saw here today, please do consider subscribing. It really means a lot to me. I don't get paid to be here. I just do this for fun. But thank you guys, and I hope you liked the big ol' predator fish fly. Thank you guys.